Peace, peace, peace. What's going on? This is Kurt and I'm back for another video. The topic of the video today is going beyond shadow work and actually calling forth the elements within us. Before I start the video, I just want to say that I'm restarting consultations as of Monday. But to be fair, because there was a lot of people that hit me up during the time that I wasn't making videos asking for consultations, and I told them that I wasn't doing consultations anymore. So those people, if you still are interested in consultations, just send me an email and tell me, hey, I hit you up like 4 or 5 months ago for a consultation. I still want a consultation. I'll be glad to give you a priority because you came first. So that's it for that. The video today is really about going beyond shadow work, because I feel like eventually, if we're working on a program, if we call ourselves, if we call this self spirituality, we don't want to always be in the healing phase. We want to be in the progressive phase. We want to be in the creative phase. We want to be in the wealth phase. So we need to actually identify the blockages, but most importantly, the components of the shadow. Because saying the shadow, what do we mean when we say the shadow? Your repressed emotions, your repressed memories, etc., etc. But that's very vague. And a lot of people have been doing a lot of shadow work, but they haven't gotten any results. So eventually, if I'm making music, I know that there's scales, there's different notes, there's keys, there's frequencies, there's vibrations, there's different instruments. So a song is composed of a multiplicity of different ingredients. But what is the shadow composed of? And again, when I said yesterday, if you go to any science, the science of astrology, the science of the Tao, the science of dragons, voodoo, any science is always composed of the 4 elements. Now, yesterday I said every time you use an element when you're not supposed to use this element, not only what you're doing, you create an imbalance at the first level, but B, you're creating a shadow element. And I actually illustrated that for you guys. So here you see, by not using my fire when my fire was the appropriate element to use, I created an air. There I created an earth, air element, fire element, water element, earth element. So eventually, because those reactions or those elements are created from an imbalance within your reactions, within how you feel and what you say. No, how you think and what you say, how you feel, what you do, and your passion or the energy you send forth. Eventually, they all become bunched together and they create a shadow where the individual elements are no longer distinguishable one from the other, and this appears to create what we call the shadow. So all those elements create what we call our shadow. But if you think about it, now imagine the imbalanced elements for 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, 5 years, 10 years. That's what you're dealing with when you're dealing with actual spirituality. You want to bring back those individualized elements that compose a shadow. You want to bring them back into the frequency of what I said yesterday, the frequency of the very first emergence of the truest voice within you that knows no condition, which is your unique inner cross of elements, which is the loi Erzuli Freda Daome. So, what can we actually confirm? Shadow work is one level. Elemental work is one level, i.e., knowing what element to use in what situation. But the even deeper level that I did not share yesterday and that I'm going to share today is how to actually call forth the elements and to direct your elements. Now, again, your shadows are created out of imbalanced elements and imbalanced reactions that need to be recycled. And they are a shadow because they all come from the same source, but they are bunched together and can no longer be identified individually with their specific vibration, because the air, the water, the fire, and the earth have their specific vibration within your cross of elements, and it is the element in the middle, your ether or your loi Herzuli-Freda, that is able to keep them in balance. But because they are disconnected from that, eventually they lose the signal. So that's why here, what do you have? And this is my interpretation of the elements. I chose to give the elements division, plus, minus, and multiplication simply because your breath is what separates you from another individual. So your breath makes you an individual. This is your breath. Your earth multiplies. You know, the cells in your body, you put anything in the earth, it multiplies. The fire, it raises, it expands stuff. So that's why I put the plus for the fire, and the minus when you want to extinguish something. When you want to extinguish the fire, what do you use? You use water. So they have, each and every element has the role. One divides, one multiplies, one adds, and one subtracts. But they have the role when they are balanced and when they are in the midst of the mother element or the true voice within you that knows in what situation each element is necessary based on your unique and individual nature. However, when the elements are no longer in the midst of the frequency or the mother signal or the tower, because the true voice within you is the tower that tells your air element how to do, what to do, how to act. It tells your fire, your water, and your earth what to do and how to act. But when they are lost and they are disconnected from the vitality of the Herzuli Freda Daome frequency within you, what are they dividing? What are they multiplying? What are they subtracting? And what are they adding? So they're still carrying those operations, but in the shadow realm, and they're still doing those operations, and they're still doing what they have to do, but now without the intelligence, without the wisdom, and without the truth of the fifth element, which is the true voice within you. So now that I explained to you what the shadow is actually composed of, which is the imbalanced air, the air element, water, fire, and earth element. Now, what I would suggest for when you're trying to approach the elements, first, what you're gonna do is you're gonna activate the fire. You're gonna activate the Herzuli Freda Daome energy within you first and foremost. When you activate the mother principle in the middle and you do your ritual trying to activate this energy, so you're going to use one candle in the middle to represent the energy of the Loa, and you're going to use 4 small candles around this tower. So basically what you're doing the first level of cleansing, because those elements were disconnected from the true voice, which is the mother. It's like a mother that lost her kids in a grocery store. She's gonna go on the intercom and they're gonna say, oh, your mother is calling this person. Your mother is calling the air element. The mother is calling the water element. The mother is calling the fire element. The mother is calling the earth element. And so now all the first layer of imbalance within you will be solved, or at least will be triggered. Because if you go individually and if you try to call forth the elements individually in the beginning, what happens is that I was speaking to Alex and we were speaking about this subject, and he was basically, okay, but how do you deal with the imbalanced elements? For instance, somebody hits you, and instead of hitting them back, you rationalized and you accumulate those behaviors over years. He was like, how do you do? Next time somebody hits you, are you gonna hit them back? And I was like, yes, that's one perspective. But remember, because you are dealing and working from your shadow, whatever reaction you're going to have is going to be imbalanced. It is a shadow reaction based on imbalances. So the wise thing to do is to actually catch yourself in the moment. So don't anticipate. Don't say, you know what, I've been bullied, or you know what, I haven't spoken up. So next time someone says something, I'm gonna say something. Yes, that's a start, but that's still an imbalanced reaction or a compensatory reaction. What you want to do is you want to catch yourself in the act live. You don't want to anticipate. You don't want to plan. It has to be organic. So what's better? Instead of saying I'm going to do, it's better for you to realize when the moment happens and you didn't have the courage to change your behavior, you ask yourself, oh shit, why? What prevented me? And that's more natural because that's going to awaken more questions that will allow you to actually get out of imbalances and to function from your core. So we don't want to feed the shadow. We don't want to feed the imbalance within the elements with more imbalanced reactions. So you get your main candle in the middle. You print out the VV of the loi, or you trace the VV, and you place candles around representing the elements. And basically what you ask the energy within yourself to work out the first layer of imbalances, to show you in your dreams a situation where there is a blockage. And from then, the more you do this and the more you do purification, because the purification actually doesn't necessitate you to actually call the elements in the beginning. When you reach a certain level, then you'll be able to call the elements, because you will be in the frequency and the vibration of the loi Erzuli Freda Daome. But in the beginning, to be safe, I would actually recommend don't deal with the individual shadows, but act like a mother in a grocery store calling for her kids. Air element, this is mom. Fire element, earth element, water element. And the shadow, or whatever was stuck in the shadow, because the mother element in the middle is back and is calling them forth, it will clean and it will cleanse the first layer. But eventually, when you move into the science and you get more experience and you're actually able to identify the imbalance in your elements at a deeper level, when you are, like I said, but when you've established yourself back in your true voice, this is how you call the individual elements. You're gonna say, air element, come back to earth. What is your air element? Your air element is your mind. So what happens when we're in a situation or when we're at work and the work is boring? You start to drift away. So that's your air leaving earth and going to the air. So you're going to say, air element, come back to earth. Your earth element can be submerged under emotions. Sometimes you see people are so emotional that their first reaction is just to shut down and to be what's the word? Frozen by emotions, and they can't move. So you're gonna say, earth, come out of water. Now this is interesting because they always say that Erzuli Freda Dahomey, they say she is only a consort, she doesn't have a husband, because Ogu Ferrai, his wife is Erzuli Dantor, Agwe, his wife is La Sirène, and Dambala, his wife is Aida Wedo. And when she comes to the possession, she always leaves crying. But again, if you go back to the symbol I showed you, the icon that they use for her with a heart that's pierced with a dagger or with a sword, that's something that's against her element. So basically, when your heart is pierced with a sword, you're learning how to intellectualize your emotions versus living them and being one with all of your elements. The reason why Erzuli Freda Dahomey cries, or the energy would cry, because it is a cleansing. It is an elemental cleansing. She does not, or the energy does not and cannot in any way intellectualize what they're feeling and the truth of what they're feeling. And because the natural reaction of a child, or the natural reaction of anyone who's still in contact with their emotions and who haven't been taught that being emotional is weak, is to cry. So when she cries, whatever air element or whatever emotion that someone doesn't express and that they try to rationalize and force themselves not to cry, goes to the air element. But she's showing you, or the energy of Erzuli Freda Dahomey is showing you, she is bringing back the water element from the air. So don't intellectualize your pain, rationalize your pain, and stop yourself from feeling. You can cry. That's the wisdom of the Loa, or the energy of the Loa crying. She doesn't always cry in the possessions. The other element is the fire. The other call is fire, come out of the earth. Again, sometimes you have a passion. That's your fire. That's your working out. But, you're feeling lazy. For some reason, you're feeling lazy. You're feeling like you can't do it. You can't commit to the action. You say you have no willpower. So basically, you're telling, hey, fire, come out of the earth. Stop sleeping. Come forth. Let's go to the gym. Let's go run. Let's do something that is productive and that's going to stimulate your organism and also your subtle organisms. Now, what did I give you? I said air, come back to earth. Earth, come out the water. Water, come out the air. And fire, come out the earth. There's many different variations. There's many different calls. There's many different situations. For instance, you're a guy or a girl that struggles to speak with the other sex. So instead of being able to speak to a woman when you see her, when you actually want to express your fire, what do? You retreat in your emotions and you can't actually talk to the person. So that would be your earth element or your air element and your fire element stuck in your earth. So we would say air, come out of the earth. So again, this is not the rule or the law. This is just a way for you guys to understand how to actually practically call forth the elements. I remember I said, first, don't call forth the elements. Do the purification. Do the purifications. Work with the energy of Erzuli Freda Dahomey. And when you reach a certain level, and you feel like you can actually identify the elements that are imbalanced or the blockages within the shadow that you have, then you can start calling forth the elements individually. So that's it. That's the video for today. So comment, share, like, and subscribe. And peace.